Let me ask you something. What if our entire universe, everything you see, everything you are, is actually an illusion? What if, at the very bottom of it all, reality is something so simple, so pure, and so unified that it would just blow your mind?
The key to this whole idea is actually a pretty simple metaphor. I want you to imagine that all of reality is just a single beam of pure white light. And everything we see, space, time, matter, you and me, well, that's just the rainbow that appears when that single light gets scattered by a prism. Today, we're going to try to look right through that prism and see the original light.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 4 parts. First, we'll dive into the grand illusion that's been confusing physics for a century. Then, we'll uncover the one simple law that governs the entire universe's budget. After that, we'll figure out the price of existence itself. And finally, we'll get down to the tiny pixels that make up the screen of reality.
Okay, so to get started, we have to talk about this huge fundamental conflict that's been raging in the heart of modern physics. For pretty much the last 100 years, physicists have been trying to serve 2 completely different and, frankly, warring gods. And the whole war really comes down to this. On one side, you've got Einstein's world of general relativity. It's smooth, it's continuous, it's predictable, it's like a perfect, solid block of marble. But on the other side, you've got this completely different beast, quantum mechanics. Its world is choppy, it's pixelated, it's based on probability, it's much more like a mosaic. And here's the problem. These 2 descriptions of reality just do not get along. They're totally incompatible.
So, who's right? Who wins the war? Well, what if that's the wrong question? What if the problem isn't the universe at all, but just our perspective on it? What if these 2 warring gods are just different ways of describing a single, deeper truth? To see that, we're going to need a whole new language.
And you know what? This new language is shockingly simple. It has nothing to do with complex forces or weird particles. It's about economics. Turns out, the universe runs on a single, finite resource. You could call it a cosmic budget.
Remember that pure white light we talked about at the beginning? We can give it a name now, primordial time. But listen, don't think of this as seconds ticking on a clock. That's not it at all. Think of it as the universe's total processing power, its bandwidth for existing. It's this constant, finite rate of evolution, and we actually have a name for it. It's c, what we normally call the speed of light.
And this right here, is the single equation that governs that entire cosmic budget. It might look a little familiar, but its meaning is so much deeper than you think. This isn't just some dusty old physics formula. It's the rule book for a zero-sum game that every single thing in the universe is forced to play.
It all boils down to a really simple trade-off. Everything in the universe, you, me, a rock, a photon, gets a fixed budget of c, and you have to spend that budget. You can spend it on moving through space, we'll call that your external velocity, or you can spend it on internal change, on experiencing time, we'll call that your internal velocity. But here's the catch, you can't max out both. You have to choose. Now this simple idea, this trade-off, perfectly explains the super weird effect of time dilation. Check this out. When you're standing perfectly still, your external velocity is 0. So you spend your full budget on experiencing time. Your personal clock ticks at its fastest possible rate. But the moment you start moving, you have to divert some of that budget from time over to space. And what happens? Your internal clock has to slow down. So what happens if you go all out? What if you spend your entire budget on moving at light speed? Well, there's nothing left for time. Your clock just freezes.
So, this cosmic budget, it basically creates 2 extreme ways of existing in the universe. 2 very different ways of being. And these 2 extremes are the foundation for literally everything we see. Things that have mass and things that don't, like light.
In this new way of looking at things, mass isn't stuff. It's not a substance. Mass is simply what happens when the cosmic budget is spent internally. It's a measure of the internal processing rate. It's the chunk of that universal C that gets locked up in just existing.
And this quote just nails it perfectly. The reason you're heavy, the reason you have mass and feel inertia, is because all the little particles that make you up are incredibly, ridiculously busy on the inside. They're spending their budget on existing, and that makes them resistant to being pushed around.
So that's one extreme. Now let's look at the complete opposite, light. A photon is basically a cosmic pauper. It is broke. It spends every last drop of its budget on moving through space.
It has absolutely nothing left over to spend on internal time, on existing. It's totally bankrupt when it comes to internal complexity.
And the consequence of this is it's absolutely staggering. Since a photon has zero budget for time, it experiences zero time. So its entire journey, even if it's across billions of light years, from the moment it's born in a distant star to the moment it dies in your eyeball, from its own perspective, that happens in a single, timeless instant.
So, this new language gives us a kind of Rosetta Stone for translating the weirdness of physics into something that makes sense. Mass is no longer stuff. It's the background process load of a system. The speed of light isn't some cosmic speed limit, it's the max system clock speed of the universe's computer. And time dilation? Well, that's just what happens when you have to reallocate your budget from one task to another.
Okay, so let's peel back one final layer here. If this whole computational idea is right, then what's the universe's hardware? What are the circuits and the pixels that are running this whole show?
Well, this all leads to the idea that at the most fundamental level you can imagine, the universe isn't smooth at all. It's a vast, discrete grid of computational units, a quantum cellular automaton. Think of reality like a movie screen. What looks like smooth, continuous motion is really just a bunch of discrete pixels turning on and off according to some very simple local rules.
So you might be asking, well, if that's true, why don't we see the pixels? The answer is that the resolution it's just insane. The estimated number of these little computational units in just 1 cubic meter of empty space is a 1 followed by 105 zeros. Our reality looks smooth for the same reason a 4K TV looks smooth. The pixels are just way, way too small for us to notice.
And this leads to a final, really radical way to think about matter. In this pixelated universe, particles like electrons aren't little actors moving around on the stage. No, they are the stage. They're just stable glitches or topological knots. They're persistent patterns in the computational grid itself.
And that brings us all the way back around to where we started. Remember our metaphor? The single white light and the prism. Well, if primordial time is that pure unified light, then what's the prism? What's the thing that shatters it into the beautiful rainbow of reality that we see? The answer, it seems, is us, the observer. Our very act of looking, of measuring, is what scatters the unified whole into space, time, and matter.
And this leaves us with one final, truly profound thought. If we are not just passive viewers of the universe, but active participants in creating the reality we experience, it raises a huge question. If we could somehow change the way we look, if we could adjust the prism just a little, what other realities, what other incredible rainbows might we be able to see?